China's ruling Communist Party will celebrate the 100th anniversary of its founding day on July 1st. 8 years have passed since Xi Jinping's election, and his tenure is characterized by an unprecedented level of political restrictions not seen since the repressions 30 years ago. From mass arrests and surveillance system, Chiang and his allies have been doing everything in their power to tighten the CCP's grips over all economic, political and social aspects of China. Totalitarian regime is not yet the motto of the CCP, but Chiang is certainly heading in this direction. Today, the CCP controls everything that a political party can control, leaving non-political organizations and those not members of the party with little to no chance of participating in China's success story. China is either directly or indirectly responsible for the disruption of the world peace everywhere. In this video, we're going to be looking at all these major aspects through which CCP has caused trouble for the entire world. However, the entire country was founded over lies. The common people of China were shown unrealistic dreams of a prosperous life in a communist utopia. They were promised schemes like land redistribution, wealth redistribution, equal opportunities for everyone, which helped in gathering public support for the Communist Party. However, when CCP defeated KMT and finally gained power over the entire country, all these promises turned out to be lies. Mao Zedong became a ruthless dictator, and the so-called People's Liberation Army ironically became the People's Impression Army. Now let's look at some national policies of the CCP. For years now, any negative online information about the president is being censored, from simple entries in forums to videos and edited photographs. In this regard, the Chinese leader is not far behind the Russian President Vladimir Putin. That is, both gentlemen would love to remain in power until the day they die, and are willing to change the laws to achieve this process. Also, when China became an independent country, the independent Uyghur state became a part of China. After Xi Jinping's rise to power in 2012, Beijing's policies towards the Uyghur became so inhuman and so cruel that it is often been compared to Hitler's policies towards the Jews. Since the beginning of the Uyghur genocide, which includes forced abortions, sterilization, birth control, forced labor, torture, beatings, brainwashing and similar gruesome crimes, approximately 1 million Uyghurs have been detained, and this number just keeps on growing. The government continued to implement far-reaching policies that severely restricted the freedoms of the Muslims in Xinjiang. These policies violated multiple human rights, including the right to liberty, security of a person, privacy, freedom of movement, opinion, expression, thought, conscience, religion, belief, participation in cultural life, to equality and non-discrimination and whatnot. So now let's take a look at what CCP has planned for the international order. China's border disputes with neighboring countries are intensified because of CCP. It is claiming the whole South China Sea as its own by the 9-dashed line, totally ignoring the other nations and the international laws. China's bullying tactics against Taiwan are creating tensions in the entire region. In the initial years, it illegally captured regions like Tibet, but now it's expanding in seas. China's support for terrorism is also a new issue. China doesn't want Islamic extremism in its own land. Already, such movements are going on in its Xinjiang region. It is suppressing them with force and even doing atrocities on common people there. However, when it comes to terrorism in Pakistan and Afghanistan, the Chinese are much happy in supporting them with arms and money. In August, CCP hosted the Taliban leaders. This showed that China's only aim is its economic interest. For this, they're ready to join hands even with the terrorists. Now, let's also take a look at the debt trap policy. China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) is the masterstroke that it played to initiate the process of colonizing the world. Under BRI, China began giving billions of dollars loan to countless nations in Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, and even the countries in Europe. But the transparency of these lending was questionable. Unlike other lending organizations like the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, or Asian Development Bank, the terms and conditions of these loans were not made public. Small and poor countries accepted these loans without realizing the danger involved with them. Chinese policies made these loans almost non-repayable. This often forced the small countries to grant political and economic favors to China. Few examples of such favors are the Hambantota Port Deal, the Colombo Port City, the Guarda Port City, projects in Mozambique, and many more. Also friend, the CCP has today not forgotten the China's long tradition of hybrid warfare. The current pacification policies in Xinjiang and Tibet employ many policies which are familiar to both students of hybrid warfare. The government's propaganda, information, and cyber war campaign, coupled with the use of irregular local troops and as a last resort, conventional police and military units, represent a form of hybrid warfare. Friends, it would take years for me to talk about the lies and propaganda of the Chinese Communist Party. So for now, let's hop on to what we can learn from the policies of the CCP. The Chinese bureaucracy is often arbitrary and rigid, but it has also proved adaptive to changes in technology. Chinese efficiency is praised because the system does accommodate change. While it may never grow to be one that is people-friendly, it has proved flexible enough to allow projects to be successfully conceptualized and implemented. And this highly franchised system is one that has fueled the Chinese economy to unprecedented heights. An important but related lesson in that respect is how China has converted its state-owned enterprises into robust organizations. Since 1993, China has reformed its state-owned enterprises from being bloated, inefficient, and outdated organizations to ones that can compete on the international stage. In contrast, companies with Indian state backing have performed abysmally and continue to remain non-performing assets. While the hand of the state is not going to assume a greater role in companies in India, the Chinese experience could still provide a valuable lesson in terms of the management of public enterprises. Now, India is a democracy and a messy one at that. If we ever aspire to be a superpower, we will not only need innovative thinking, but to avoid mistakes that other large countries have made. It will only be in our interest to understand the Chinese project, if not to learn from its success, then at least to learn from its mistake.